Hello, I'm Josh Ellsworth with Stahls TV, and welcome to today's live classroom, 7 ways to use CAD-CUT patterns to boost the profits in your business. Appreciate you all joining Stahls TV. As always, we're broadcasting live, which means you can type in your questions throughout the broadcast. I have Jimmy that's going to be working the questions today, whether that comes through the GoToWebinar client, which we're feeding through, and also Facebook Live. Feel free to type in your questions, and we will stop several times throughout today's 45-minute presentation to answer those questions. One of the reasons I'm so excited about today's class is because we've had this new product out called CAD-CUT Patterns. And this is a product that we've wanted to bring to market for some time, but we wanted to bring it to the market in sort of a new and a different way, where you can fully customize the pattern that you want to create a heat transfer vinyl that's unique to you, unique to your customers. So we did a lot of development work at Stahls in creating what's called our pattern generator on our website, stahls.com. So it's a little bit different than all the other patterns that are out there on the market in that you can completely build this from scratch, and there are literally billions of combinations when you consider the color palette that's available to you, and also all of the vector patterns that can be customized with those different color combinations. So before I go into the generator, I just want to explain sort of a high-level workflow on how you utilize the CAD-CUT patterns, and then we'll execute various elements of the production process together throughout this class. So number one is when you receive the pattern that you created from the website, it comes in a roll form. We roll them on these smaller cores, makes it a little bit more cost effective in the shipping to you. We do a $5 flat rate shipping with this program as well. But basically when you create your different patterns, whether it's a 1-yard increment, 5-yard roll, 10-yard roll, all of those come into you ready to cut, ready to work with. Our patterns are a little bit different than some of the ones on the market in that they are not masked when they arrive to you. And we do this for a big reason. When you cut this, though, for the heat transfer vinyl process, you need to load this into your cutter, pattern side up. You are going to cut the design in a positive image, which is different than what you normally do on heat transfer vinyl. So you cut it in the positive, you weed away the excess, and then you'll take a sheet of heat transfer mask to mask and lift the pattern. I'll show you that process. I'm not going to show you the cutting in class today. We have some designs pre-cut, but I will be able to show you the weeding process after we get into it, show you the masking process, and basically you complete that pattern, make it ready for heat application after it's been cut, weeded, and masked. Now, one of the big ways that you can boost your profits with CAD-CUT patterns, the first way out of the 7, is by actually using the patterned roll for a process called rip away applique. This is the big reason why we don't mask the pattern, because it basically leaves the inventory once you buy it completely versatile. Now what that means is that basically when you buy this roll, if you were to take this pattern itself and you were to grab your weeding tool, and I'll see if Jimmy can get a zoomed in angle here for me, and I take the weeding tool and I basically start to lift away on the edge, I can separate this material, and this is our express print material, from the background carrier. There's a clear plastic carrier here that I'm separating it from, and basically this loose material, heat transfer vinyl, can be laid flat onto a garment. Now, why would you want to do that before you cut and weed it? And the interesting thing is if you understand a process called rip away applique, and I'm going to pull up a display board here and sort of walk you through the process. I'll show you how this works. Number one is with an embroidery machine, you're going to sew a placement stitch. That's this top image. Once you sew that placement stitch, you can take your sheet or your loose piece of heat transfer vinyl. In this case, this sample shows just our standard thermofilm heat transfer vinyl, but you can take a sheet of patterns as well, if you imagine that. Lay it down over top of this placement stitch. Then you basically sew out a satin stitch, which perforates the edge of the heat transfer vinyl, basically cutting it for you instead of having to run it through a vinyl cutter like traditional applique work, saving you a lot of time with layout. You just lay out a sheet, sew a satin stitch, and then you tear away the excess. You rip it away, just basically leaving the applique fill, the pattern fill inside of your design. Now I'll lift this up and you can kind of see, if we zoom in a little bit closer here, you can see the completed result. And so this is thermofilm. It's been completely ripped away, and you have to finish that with a heat press. Now I'll show you some other finishes. That's a reflective. You can see it sort of reflecting a bright white into the camera. You can use glitter for that process, or glitter flake. This is a flock. And last but not least, this is CAD-CUT Patterns for that process. So this pattern result, that particular one is a checkerboard like design, which I happen to have, you know, another roll of that just in a different color combination here. That leaves that inventory versatile, so I can use it for a single color heat transfer vinyl product that will be our other 6 ideas today. But I want to make sure I point out that it's created like this so you can use it for rip away. And embroiderers love the look of this pattern product and the various patterns, lace, etc., scales, paisley, chevron, for an applique fill. It's a really cool, unique result that you should be offering to your customers to boost your profit. Okay. With that in mind, let's dive in to the pattern generator on Stahls.com. So I have my computer screen up here so you can take a look at that as well. You just visit Stahls.com where you purchase all your heat transfer vinyl material. If you go up to the CAD-CUT Material tab, you can go down sort of the Patterns product selection. Click on Patterns, and it's going to drop you onto the product page where you can create and order this product. Now this isn't just any product page. I can customize and do some really cool things further down on this page. So it's going to give me a visual of my pattern. After that, just to make sure we're all on the same page, I can select whatever pattern it is that I want. So sort of scroll down through all the available patterns that I have here, select one that I like, and then I can start to move to the next step. It gives you a visual of that pattern, a nice large visual, and the next step is step number 2 in the process. After I select the pattern, is select the color. I'm building this custom roll of material right now. Now when I go to select the color, if I scroll down, you'll see we've automatically provided some popular colorways that you can work with. The particular one we're going to use for our first application is this pre-done colorway that includes jazz pink and baby doll pink as the colors. So this, some people may call this stock patterns, but we have these sort of stock popular colorways that you can select, or you can customize this by changing these out. If you don't like these and you're like, I have a school that is orange and maybe green, and I don't see that represented here, and I want to select those colors. So if you want to change the colors, you just click on the color you want to change. Let's start with the jazz pink color. I click on that, and this will bring up the full Stahls digital color palette. We've spent a lot of time not only developing the patterns, but developing this color palette that follows the Pantone trends that are out there for colorways. So we follow the trends in the craft market, we follow the trends for Pantone in the fashion market, and then also some of these colors follow sporting goods trends out there for some of your major sports brands and colors that they are launching or moving towards for 2017 and 2018. And so in this case, let's look for an orange color. I'll select the atomic orange color. If this is for a spirit shirt for the school, you can see the orange instantly changes. If I want to switch out the baby doll pink to maybe a voltage green or something like that, you can select that. It will give you a visual. If you don't like the look of it, let me go maybe to an Amazon green, and you can sort of swap, change, create different designs until you have the look that you're going for. Keep in mind that if I would have went back to step 1 and let's say I select a pattern that has more than just 2 colors in it, a good one that has more than 2 colors, let's take this Visions one. It will update the pattern. I'll go back to select colors. Now it renders 3 color choices for that Visions pattern. And so if I want to change out the black, basically you're clicking and swapping colors to go through the entire process until you have exactly what you want created. Completely customizing, and once you're happy with that preview, the next step is you're going to choose the roll length and quantity. So this is the checkout process. I either click next step or I click the step 3 tab, and there you'll see the prices generate for 1, 5, and 10 yard rolls, and the price is the same regardless of the patterns and the number of colors. And you just say, I want 10 yard roll, and then if you need masking material, you can get a roll of mask to match it. Okay, you add that, add it to your cart, and then complete the checkout combinations. It will say, or checkout, it'll save your color combination so you know what you used in your cart. You can come back and order that later. So once you create that, basically we produce it, we ship it to you, you have your own custom roll of heat transfer vinyl, and you'll want to just create and create. And what I recommend is building maybe some 1-yard cuts of 10 different color samples to create samples for local schools and styles, create some display samples, show those, and that's going to help you start to sell this product and show its capability. So with a proper understanding of how you can order patterns, another key thing with our digital color palette is being able to reorder and get the same pattern. So if you order Amazon green today, it's going to be the same Amazon green that you'll get 12 or 18 months from now. And the reason is we have a digital production team that closely manages those colors and those color palettes, and we've profiled and dialed in our machine specific to make sure that it's that color time and time again. So you're not going to order red today, want to match it to an inventory or a shirt from another roll from last week and have it be different. It's all going to match and all going to be the same. So that's the trust in our pattern process and truly professional production of the patterns. So with that in mind, basically you take that roll, you cut it, you weed it, and we mask it, and we create a transfer that's ready to heat apply. So let's head over to the heat press. So I'm getting a little bit tired of sitting down and just talking to you. I want to apply something. We're going to cross over here, over to our Hotronix Fusion heat press, and talk about our second way to boost profit with CAD-CUT Patterns, and that is by leveraging monograms for designs. Sometimes people don't know what they should really create from an artwork standpoint out of patterns. The monogram is one of the simplest, most popular ways to leverage pattern heat transfer vinyl to begin making money. People like personalization. Personalization has moved well beyond a name and a number, and being able to offer monograms to sort of that more fashion-forward customer is tremendously popular right now. Actually so popular that on stahlstv.com under the Resources tab, you can download a complete monogram guide that will walk you through sort of monogram etiquette and some tips and tricks to setting up artwork from monograms. So I'm going to heat press onto a Boxercraft shirt. As always, if you've been watching Stahls TV, you know I like to thread the shirt onto the heat press. We teach that at Stahls because that helps to get a nice flat pressing area where I'm not going to get strike through from any seams. I'm going to retract the shirt back just to hang this large seam off of the edge, make sure it's flat, and then I'm going to do a little preheat here. Now the pattern heat transfer vinyl is available out of the Express Print product today. You can feel confident that we're not done there, and we'll be adding more and more styles to it, but for now it's a simple application. It's 300 degrees, it's 10 to 15 seconds, and it's a warm peel. So I'm going to position it down. If you wonder what I'm doing there, I think you can see a little bit of top shoulder here. I'll pull it down. I'm pinching top shoulder of the actual garment here. I'm doing a vertical line down to line up the center of the design, and that's how I do my placement. Just drape that edge back off. I'm going to cover the mask backing with a cover sheet and then complete the application. 300 degrees, 10 to 15 seconds at a medium pressure. Don't know if you can't see on the screen, but it's reading a 6 pressure on my heat press, which is right on the sort of top range of medium. Swing away my press. Let that cool down just for a second. And then I'm going to remove the carrier from the design, and I have a completed application. At its simplest, that is leveraging heat transfer vinyl and patterns. Express Print has a fairly soft feel on it, so it's going to feel good on the garment. Also, pairing sort of light colorways in the patterns with a dark shirt kind of makes it pop. You can see we're leveraging sort of garment show through and open space with our frame on our monogram, so we get a really nice completed result, nice left chest application. So boost your profits by doing simple designs with the patterns, keeps weeding simple and easy, the masking process simple and easy, and that's our second way to boost profit with CAD-CUT Patterns. Now, for the next way, I'm going to grab another style shirt here. And to give you a tip, when you're dealing with these patterns, since you have, I think it's 101 colors that you can pick from to colorize the patterns, there is a lot of selection that's available for you to build upon. So when you start to look at shirt styles that come out, you see a lot of contrast color sleeves and color blocking, even color blocking on performance textiles with the zipper color or the piping or the drawstrings on a hoodie. You get the point. There's always that sort of accent color on the garment. In this case, it's stars and stripes, and we're getting the navy, we're getting the red, and we sort of want to build to the theme of the shirt. So patterns tend to lend themselves well in that I can really build to the theme of the shirt, not only in just one color, but multiple colors in a heat transfer vinyl. And better yet, it's a single step application. So we know we can cut 2 layers of heat transfer vinyl and layer them, but what about just building a pattern, a stripe pattern in this case, where I'm doing the navy color and the red color to match the shirt. So we'll heat press this while I'm continuing to talk about the concept. The idea that you can build to match the color block components of your garment. In this case, this garment is from Sanmar. It's part of their alternative apparel line that they launched sometime last year. It's a really soft, fashionable blank. Notice I'm loading, trying to get the raglan sleeves, the seams here, off of the edge as much as I can. Going to do that in preheat. Then I'm just going to take my USA design that matches the look, feel, style of the shirt, position that into place, doing my best to center it. When I center, I hold the tag up, sort of lift it up to line it up to the center of the S. Also, if you read Ted Stahls' blog or a part of our Facebook group, you see that your hands are your most valuable thing whenever you're heat pressing. So just the idea that I want the sort of stars 4 fingers apart on both sides, that looks fairly well centered to me when you look at the outer extremities of the design aligned with the hands. Just a quick tip. So cover that up, complete the application. While we're counting down 15 seconds, Jimmy, are there any questions coming in right now?
I'm taking care of the go-to questions. I think we have a couple on the Facebook page, though.
Okay, can you read those for me? I don't have visibility to those right now.
Absolutely. Will the pattern fade or mess up if pressed on a higher temp, like 320, to apply with glitter flake?
Okay, so good question. As I'm peeling this back, warm peel, will the pattern fade if pressed at a higher temp? No. I mean, 20, 30 degrees variance isn't really going to harm this product. You just want to make sure that you get the complete recommended temperature for the time. And we're going to do a mixed media here with glitter flake in just a bit as one of our profit-making ways, but 320 degrees is no problem for this. You won't experience any negative results at that. All right, hold up this sample for you to check out our finished results. You can see we get a design that's a little more stylistic and matched to the theme of the shirt, which is one of the profit potentials. I'm going to take a seat over here and we'll take a couple more questions. No more questions coming in?
Joseph Cleary says, when you have a product that lasts as long as screen printing, he's in.
Okay, so heat transfer film, when applied properly, will be as durable as screen printing. So we stop our tests at 50 wash and dry cycles just because we call that the life of the garment. So if it's a heat transfer vinyl product, it's very key. It's not only the product, it's the quality of the heat press and the technique of the operator. So ensuring that you actually get accurate time, temperature, and pressure on that quality heat transfer provided from Stahls or Transfer Express, whatever product it is, and you'll have equal durability to screen printing. I always say a great screen printing will outlast the garment, a great heat transfer will outlast the garment, but it must be applied properly. Okay, so next I want to talk to you a little bit about sort of another profit-making opportunity. So we're through 3, this will be the 4th. And when you're working with patterns, one of the big things is actually matching a single color heat transfer film to your pattern itself. This will help making the pattern stand out a little more, and doing mixed media and sort of outlining the designs is one of my favorite things to do with patterns. Sometimes if you just put the pattern on a shirt, it's not going to show off that well and you're not going to be able to read it from a distance. It becomes challenging, especially on text designs where you want to read it. And so leveraging a material to go with it, in this case we're going to use fashion film in the color lime, which happens to match the Amazon green. we've cut a design, and basically we're going to do a two-step application. So the profit boosting tip is add a secondary color of heat transfer film, combine that with your pattern, and you'll get a much better completed visual effect. So let's go over back to the heat press and show you how to do that multi-step application. So we're going to start by threading our fleece garment here. The pattern material will apply to any cotton and polyester blend, so you have no problems applying the fleece. The express print is thick enough. It feels soft, but it's thick enough that if this fleece tends to shrink, you're not going to get that puckered result in the design. Basically, from an application standpoint, we've created this design, and I always like to start with the largest part first. I could really go in any order here, whether I want to do the pattern down first or the fashion film down first. I like to start with the largest part of the design because that's the important thing to alignment, to making sure everything's straight. So I'm going to position that down. Since I'm dealing with fashion film, I'm just going to tack it for a couple seconds. If this were the pattern material down first, which we'll do on our next sample, I would have had to give it 5 seconds to tack it down. I'm going to release the carrier. One of the key things to keep in mind with patterns is to get that 50 wash durability. We're still in testing on whether we want to recommend it for complete layering. But you can see on this particular sample, we've created something called a gap outline. So the pattern is actually coming in complete contact with the garment. It's not overlaying on the heat transfer film. And the nice thing is with that mask, it's completely see-through, so I can make sure I have it aligned properly into position. Since there is now heat transfer film exposed to the heater, I'm going to cover that up when I heat apply it. So hopefully you're following along and know how to do this. I'm not going to press it yet because I want to point out something I commonly show. You see this Mylar carrier from the pattern is actually crossing over this banner of the fashion film that's been applied. That will leave a mark in that fashion film if I just heat apply it. Whenever I see that happening, I'm going to just tack this pattern down because that's going to limit the indent that's going to happen on that background layer. So I'm only going to give the pattern about 5 seconds, which isn't the full application. Give it a few seconds to cool down. Then I'm going to remove the carrier. Tough to see on camera, but it really limits the indent almost to there isn't one there at all. If I would have pressed it for a full 10, I'd have a permanent crease across there. Now I'll cover it back together and give it the full application. So that's just a little trick to get away from, you know, those little indents and those things that tend to impact the finished quality of the design. Swing the press away, and now I have a completed garment. I'll turn it towards the camera so you can get a better look here at the finished design. So you get the basketball mom design, you get the stripe pattern that's just a stock option in the designer itself, and I've colorized it in such a way that it matches the fashion film. So we actually, if we can go back over to the computer here, when you're on the product page for CAD-CUT Patterns, one of the best things you can do if you're going to start really utilizing this product is order what's called a digital color chart. So you can click on that link. It's right on the product page of Patterns, digital color chart. And it's just a little $5 chart that actually has a little swatch. So this is sort of your color swatches for digital printing. It has a color swatch printed on the express print material, which is the material you get your pattern out of. So it's kind of nice in that you can order it for $5. And now, whenever I want to do this combination, I can actually take that digital color chart, which is a big printout of all the colors, a little color block, and I can take my fashion film swatches, or I can take my glitter flake color swatches that we provide to you, and I can hold that up and make sure I get the exact color combination, matching colors that I want to do. Because when you start doing this, hold up another sample here, like on this one. In this case, we've matched sort of the purple of fashion film with the purple hearts that you see in the Hawks text. This is while it looks good, I'll hold it in front of here so we can get a cool look. This is another one that Hawksford mark probably could have benefited from a gap outline or an outline design of purple to sort of set it off so it makes the text a little more legible from what it is now. But you get the point. We've perfectly matched those purple colors by utilizing the digital color chart as well as our color swatches. Okay. In doing that, you don't always want an exact match, you want something tonal, and so that's our next profit-making tip with CAD-CUT Patterns, is not only combining it with a special effect material, but picking one that's in the same sort of color family or a tonal print. So let's head over to the heat press so you can get a closer look at what we've done here. In this case, I'm going to be heat applying to a sort of fringe top, a youth little girl's top from Cavio, and they basically are a sponsor of Stahls TV, as well as Sanmar and Boxercraft and some of these other folks that have donated blanks or provided to them for us at little cost in order to teach you. But they have a nice, really nice youth line in sizes that often go from toddler all the way up to ladies apparel, which is great when you're trying to decorate something for an entire group and hit the same style and colorways and all of that. So I'm going to have to swap out the attachment on my heat press to do this one. So if we take a close look at the heat press, basically, you know, you could lay this flat perhaps and get away with it because the seams are over here, but you run some risk of sort of glossing the garment up in those areas since this is a size 4 garment. So what I really want to do ideally is be able to swap out my attachment, just a quick clip and go. And I'm going to drop in another size. There are a lot of different sizes that will work, but the key here is load something smaller. This one's an 8x10. That's going to give me the ability to split and thread this garment over the surface to get rid of any seams. So dropping that on, going to pull it back and basically make sure everything is lined up. When I'm loading it, I'm pulling it down, taking a look at the seam structure of the sleeves, and those are equal on both sides. Grab the sort of top shoulders and retract it till that edge drops off. Gets me a nice centered, completely flat surface. Anytime you change the platen, you need to readjust your pressure. So I lost a little bit of pressure here because of the platen height, and so I'll just adjust that according. And let's lay out this design that we're going to apply. So in this case, we've done the pattern piece out of a cool design here where we've selected like a light pink in a mint color. It's going on a mint garment. I know that's tough to see, so let me see if I can bring it closer and get any better visual here. So you can kind of see the styling there of the pattern. It's already masked and ready to go. I'm going to position that down. It'll have to go first because the glitter flake is an outline. We've tied in a monogram component to this as well, so I'm going to give this 5 seconds. Give it a warm peel. Trying not to stretch the shirt. You see how I'm supporting the shirt with my hand because the shirt's a little bit more stretchy. There must be some polyester in this. Because I want to make it as easy as possible by not warping it to line up my glitter flake layer. So in this case, we've designed out of the jade color of glitter flake, which is really close to a mint, a outline that will set off that design and also a monogram element. So it's almost like the elephant design is the frame. There's a little personalization element and a complete outline to set off the look. Now the glitter flake is covering all of the pattern, so I don't really need to worry about any tacks or anything like that because of a crossover. But I do want to point out when you're combining a special effect like glitter with a pattern, what happens is there's a little bit of glitter particle left over on this carrier that may transfer. So I always just like to tack it for a few seconds if I can to try to get it away because that'll prevent that glitter transferring over to my background. And glitter flake's a very flexible product in that I can tack it for a few seconds, peel the backing away, and now covering the whole thing and completing the application. Once this is complete, which I had it on for a little too long, so I'm going to open it at 5 seconds. You can see our completed result. Let's take you over to the table for a close-up here. So you can see our completed result. You get that nice, brilliant sparkle, the glitter flake. You get the play in the design and the pattern of the elephant with CAD-CUT Patterns. So just a really cool look. So a way to improve profit, boost your profits with CAD-CUT Patterns is by combining those patterns with special effect materials. Now, I meant to do this a design ago, and I forgot to because I wanted to show you the workflow as part of this because I think that's very important. So what I've actually done is, well, actually Jimmy prepped a design for me that's been pre-cut out of a pattern and ready to mask. So just to show you that workflow, let's zoom in again. I'm going to go ahead and show you the weeding process that happens here. So there's a design cut. It can be difficult to see the cut lines. So I always recommend just sort of starting at the outside edge if you can. There's been a weed border created on this one, which is the square around the design, which will help me to handle that a little bit better. I'm taking the weeding tool, and then I'm going to weed away the excess. So you can kind of get a view here. I'll try to tilt it towards the camera. Just peel it away. It's a very easy product to weed. It doesn't have a sticky backing, so you'll just want to be careful to make sure you don't go too fine on the detail on patterns. Another reason not to go too fine is because then you lose the pattern in your design because the patterns tend to be a little bit larger. And then you take your weeding tool and you go in and just sort of clean up the centers to reveal your whole design. So making sure you're operating in a nice well-lit area. Clean up your design. The Stahls Easy Weeder helps with this process. Once you have it completely cleaned up, basically the next step, it's all weeded, ready to go, is you take your masking product. So the mask comes in a roll. You cut a sheet down to size. You order it along with the patterns. It's the same mask if you do print cut. It's called our medium tack magic mask. Has a sticky side and a non-sticky side. The technique basically is you bend your mask in the center, okay? Get a nice view of that and just sort of let it fall and work from the center out. Just drop it on to the pattern. Then you take a credit card or a squeegee and you basically take it from the center and push the air bubbles out, applying pressure. So a nice little 45-degree angle. Push the air bubbles out. There's really no reason to have to kill it with the squeegee over and over again. As long as you make good contact, you should be able to flip your design over and remove the backing. Basically now I have that heat transfer that I've been applying, so I can put that back to the backing from the mask because it tends to release nicely from there, and that's where I've stored all my designs for this particular program. So that's very easy to see. Now, before I move on, let's go back on the computer screen one more time, because I mentioned there as I was demoing that you don't want to do too much detail because of the pattern size. But I want to make something clear that's really cool about the generator that our team thought of when they were building this, and credit to them because I didn't think of this. They did, is you see the ruler scale from basically your just point of reference. Here's an inch on the scale, 2 inches. So you can kind of zoom out and you can get perspective. You see more of the scale revealing itself on the bottom, if you can see that. Goes up to like 7 inches here. So you can get some perspective of your design and how the pattern itself will visualize and show through your design. Every pattern's a little different. I have the large chevron selected, which will show you, you kind of see it between the 0 and the 7, the size of the pattern. If I select the small chevron, you can see you get more of the design. Now it backed out on the ruler, so I have to zoom back out to the 7. So you can see a similar, but you see there's much more of a chevron in the design because I picked the smaller one. So that's a good way to get a point of reference. I mean, something like a really large pattern may not look the greatest on small text, but if I go with the detailed pattern like the paisley or something like that, then much more of the pattern will show in my design. So that's sort of a part of the decision-making process. Hopefully that makes sense. Jimmy's giving me the head shake. Yeah, that makes sense. So hopefully you guys are all picking that up. Otherwise, ask questions and I'll answer those. The next concept that I want to show you is incorporating white into your design. So staying on the computer screen for a second, let's recreate the pattern I just made, which was jersey mesh. I'm going to select the colors. In this case, can pick a popular color here, which would be the charcoal color with the white dots. And what I'm trying to create here is the look of an actual mesh heat transfer vinyl. And so I'm actually going to order a pattern in this, cut it, weed it, which is where I'm at right now. It's already masked, ready to apply. And notice I've designed white holes because I'm going to apply to a white garment. So it's going to look like it's showing through there. You can do this with any pattern. If you wanted to do the heart pattern, for instance, and then you wanted to have the heart be show through, there is a white color selection in the color choice. And so it'll actually look like show through if you match that to the color of your garment. Obviously white and black are the easiest colors to match on a garment. Otherwise you'll have to just order that color chart and compare if you want to do a red or a burgundy or something like that. So if we look at the completed design and head over to the heat press, you can see the cheerleader design, the 00. It has the white mesh. We'll get a better look when I load the right Platen on. So I'm going to swap this one out, place it to the side, go back to my 16x20 attachment. You can see the pin registration system that coming over to the heat press. You can see there's a hole. It drops right in. So it's called a quick change Platen, available on any Hottronics or Stahls Max heat press. You want to make sure you have that lever all the way out so it drops into place, and then you lock the lever in. I like to call it a lightning latch because it's so quick and easy to change. Take my garment, thread it onto the press. In this case, I'm working with a racer back garment, so if I were just to lay it flat, this racer back, what I mean is this area right here, this seam structure, would print through the front. It would impact my pressure, causing a durability concern. And so by splitting and threading it and getting it flat, I solve that issue. Preheat, adjust my pressure based on the new Platen. Take my pattern design that's been applied to the mask, flip it over, line it up, and heat apply for the full application. Well, that's counting down. Any additional questions coming in, Jimmy?
We do have one new one on Facebook. Darlene said she missed some of the video. Do you order the pattern vinyl? Let's see. Do you order the pattern vinyl that one would be using from your software program you're using?
So the pattern heat transfer vinyl, as we take a look at this completed result here, pretty nice finished look and feel, and you get that sort of mesh show through. The pattern product that's actually been cut and heat applied is ordered from Stahls.com. You basically build the custom roll yourself in the colors you want. There are popular colorways, and then you order it to your door. And if you're tuning in late, know that this video is being recorded. It will be uploaded to stahls.tv.com in the coming days and under our live events archive tab. Also, as soon as we complete on Facebook Live, they basically queue up the whole video and it'll be available for playback as well. So that's a completed design. That will be our sixth concept on boosting your profit with CAD-CUT Patterns, is by creating sort of show-through areas and being unique in your design styling. The last and final way, which we're going to stay over at the heat press, is by mixing and matching patterns. Let's go in close here so you can get a better look at this one. This is going to go on a zip-up hoodie. Lay it on. A big market for personalization is bridal. And so what we've done in this case is created a design that says Mrs. Johnson. It's tough to see, but the M is in a paisley pattern out of pink with white show through, and the R, which we'll get a close up in a second, is actually out of a lace pattern, so a completely different pattern, as is the word mark Johnson. So the lace tends to be popular in the bridal market, as you might imagine. Light pinks, light blues, whites, ivories, those sort of shades tend to sell well. You may ask how all of these two colors of patterns are on one sheet of mask, because I asked that too. And our team here was so skilled that they masked one set of patterns, and then they actually took the same piece of mask over top of another cut design and masked that in perfect registration. I probably would have wasted 2 sheets of mask because I'd be worried about ruining the design, but if you're skilled to do that, then go for it. When you're applying this, start with a preheat. Just a sort of secondary tip is that I'm working on a hoodie, so of course you have to keep in mind that hood is going to fall down when it's being worn. You don't want to cover the design, at least not the complete design, with the hood. So I always like to flip the hood down as I'm placing my layout. Have it drop just under the hood. Can move it out of the way after I position it for positioning, and that will make sure that the design is low enough so the point of having it personalized is not going to be covered up. So we'll complete it for the full application, and then we'll take a close-up look of this over at the table. Using the patterns to fill large areas of the design is the point here. So in this case, large text blocks with complementary patterns can be extremely popular. I've seen interpretations of this, like for the Easter holiday was one popular one, where there were 3 Easter bunnies all in 3 different types of patterns. But just letting it fill clip art elements or large text elements is a pretty cool technique. So let me hold up the finished result for you. And this hood's going to hang a little bit lower since nobody has it on their shoulders. And it's unzipped in the front, which makes me not hold it straight. But you can get the idea of the concept. And so let's go over and take a close-up look at this if we can get it. And I believe, Jimmy, you may want to zoom in on that. Can you take it to a manual zoom? I just want to show this lace pattern if the camera will pick it up. Yeah, there you go. It's picking it up. Good. So you can kind of see we have the pink paisley pattern here, and the center R is lace. You see it's actually white with ivory or cream, which creates a really unique result. Also, the text below is out of the lace pattern as well. And as a tip, a little mistake we made on this, I don't know if you can pick it up, make sure you weld your script text in your software. You can see where it's sort of cut in small areas. If you were up close, you could see. Just a little tip on welding your script. But all in all, some pretty cool results that we've been able to create today, all with one product line that's CAD-CUT Patterns. One of the things I like about this product is when you look at the price point, it's affordable. It's going to be a little bit more than a standard heat transfer vinyl, actually in most cases about double, but that's really not a big deal because most heat transfer vinyl is about a penny a square inch. This is about 2 cents a square inch. So you want to charge a little bit more for it, but there is plenty of room for profitability. And one of the things I like about this is you might say, yeah, but you have to add in the mask cost too. And that's true, but you can reuse this mask. So after a design's been applied, some people are reusing the same sheet of mask 5 and 10 times. I would encourage you to try that at least a few times. I tend to use it a few times. It really varies based on the garment you're applying. If it picks up the fibers of the garment, it's going to lessen the tackiness of the mask a little quicker. But reuse it. That's why we separate the product and just don't send you a roll of mask with the material, because it's less expensive for you just to buy mask when you need it. So I think you'll find that maybe you'll order 10 yards of mask for every 30 yards of patterns or something like that. So the next step is, and I'm going to stick around for questions, but if you've seen all you need to see, visit Stahls.com, design some 1-yard cuts, get some product in the door, and experiment with this both for the heat transfer vinyl application and the rip away applique application. For those of you that need to get back to work, we've reached our 45 minutes. I'm going to stick on to take any additional questions.
Darlene has another question. She says, what is the cost of the roll with the lace pattern? Which poses a question for myself. Is it standard pricing no matter which color? How does that work?
Yeah, so the price is the price. So if we want to go back to the computer screen, basically after you customize your pattern and select the colors, you'll go to step 3 of the process. This is just on Stahls.com. And this is the pricing regardless of the pattern, regardless of the number of colors. So you're going to pay, at best, $11.49 per yard, which would be $114.90 for a 10-yard roll. A 1-yard cut, not much more of a premium. It's $12.95 per yard. So I would encourage you design a variety of patterns in different colorways, try some things, and order some 1-yard samples to get started. Any additional questions coming in right now?
I think we're good at this time, Josh.
All right, so I want to thank you all for watching Stahls TV. I believe our next class, we have more classes on the docket for next week, and so I would encourage you to visit stahlstv.com, click on live events, and you'll see our schedule. Thanks for attending.